Hello, this is pre-algebra video for lesson 1-8. I am on page 38, and if you will turn there and look at this with me, we're going to move quickly. Unfortunately, this is my second attempt today. I finished the first video entirely only to find out that it was too long and would not upload. So I'm going to have to move more quickly this time. And remember that you are able to pause the videos and rewind or sit and study for a minute in order to review information that I've said. So I'm going to try to be careful not to repeat myself too many times for the sake of getting through the lesson. All right, so let's read the beginning of the lesson. Kim left a message for Jose that read, "Meet me on 2nd Street." But Jose did not know where on 2nd Street. A better message would have been, "Meet me at the corner of East Jefferson Avenue and North 2nd Street. So if you look at those instructions, it's much more specific, and we take North 2nd Street until we come to Jefferson Avenue, and Jose knows to meet at one of the corners of those two streets where they intersect. We're going to be studying the coordinate plane and how an ordered pair gives us an address like Kim could have given to Jose. Our ordered pair, which I introduced you to earlier in the week, is an address for a coordinate plane, which is a graph. Let's read this paragraph. The coordinate plane is like a map formed by two number lines, the x-axis and the y-axis, that intersect at right angles. Let's look at that. Here's our x-axis going horizontally, our y-axis going vertically, and they make right angles where they meet. We also have the center of the x and y intersection, and its address is 0 and 0. That means we haven't moved to the right or the left on the x-axis, and we haven't moved up or down on the y-axis. So its ordered pair, its x would be 0 and its y would be 0. So let's come and understand a little bit more about what that means. The x-coordinate and y-coordinate of an ordered pair tell the direction, whether it's positive or negative, and the number of units to move, and we'll understand that more as we go. So just a reminder, an ordered pair is always in parentheses, and it's always x before y. It's x, then a comma, then y, and remember I told you earlier in the week that if you are trying hard to remember which one comes first, they are in alphabetical order. Okay, moving on. To plot an ordered pair, begin at the origin, or the 0, 0 point on your graph, which is the intersection of the two axes. The first coordinate, the x, tells you how many units to move left or right, depending on whether it's positive or negative. The second coordinate, the y, tells you how many units to move up or down. So let's look at the ordered pair 2 and 3. X is going to be 2, y is going to be 3. We always go in the x direction first. So we are going to move positive 2 on the x-axis and then positive 3 on the y-axis. Let's look at this coordinate plane. If we start at 0, 0, we can either go to the right, which is positive, as you can see by positive numbers, or we can go to the left, which is negative, as you can see by negative numbers. That never changes. That's always true. So our ordered pair said 2 and then 3. Or 2 for x, 3 for y. So we're going to go over positive 2 and up positive 3. You can see I counted by ones because I can tell that that each block on the grid represents 1 unit. So I went over 2 units, up 3 units. I could have also, without counting, just looked to see where 2 was and then gone up to where 3 was. And that would have given the same result. All right, let's apply a little bit of this. Let's look at example 1. Find in the coordinates of points on a plane. This time, instead of them telling us where to go, they're going to give us a point, and we're going to tell what its address is or what its ordered pair is. So let's start with M. If you look at M, we need to see how far over on the x-axis to go first. So you see that we move past 1, 2, and 3 all the way to where 4 would be, and then we move up 2. So our ordered pair would be 4 in the x spot and 2 in the y spot. Now let's look at N. N doesn't leave the origin. It doesn't leave the 0, 0 address. So our x is going to be 0 and our y is going to be 0. Now let's look at O. For O, we leave the origin and we must come down. Oh, I'm sorry. Hello, I just did exactly what I told you not to do. We always do X first. I don't know what I was thinking, except for the fact that it's about 9 o'clock at night and I'm probably not thinking very clearly. Okay, so let's go to O, but let's do our X axis first. So we're going to go over to -3. That's going to be our X coordinate. Now we're going to go down to -3. That's going to be our Y coordinate. So you can see that for point O, our ordered pair is -3, -3. And lastly for P, we're going to go over on the x-axis to -5, but we're not going to go up or down for y, so it's going to be -5 and 0. All right, moving on to the top of page 39. Sorry, I'm reordering things a little bit and it got shaky. Graphing points on a coordinate plane. This is what we did a few minutes ago in the lesson where we were given the ordered pair and then we followed that address to find its spot on the graph. Remember, the x is first, the y is second. So for letter A, bear with me just a second. Let me get a better handle on all of this that I'm trying to keep from falling over. Our x is 2, our y is 5. Let's go to the graph. We're going to go over 2, up 5, and that's where we plot A. We don't necessarily have to put the ordered pair there, but we do need to put the label for what that point is. Be careful about that in your homework. For B, we need to go 0, 4. X is 0, y is 4. So we're not going to leave 0 on the x-axis. We're going to stay at 0, but we're going to move +4. So there's B. Now notice they didn't number every single line on this graph, but you can tell that if this is 1 and that's 3, then in between has to be 2. And if this is 3 and that's 5, in between has to be 4. All right, C is -1 and 2. So we're going to come over -1, and then we're going to go up +2, and there's C. And I won't do D. We're going to move on with our lesson. Okay, moving on to graphing an equation. The graph of an equation is the set of all ordered pairs or all solutions that are answers or solutions of the equation. So when we graph an equation, we have a line, and some of the points on that line meet at perfect little intersections, and those are often the ones that we plotted. But believe it or not, every single point that we could name on this line satisfies an equation, satisfies the same equation. So let's look at that. Let's look at what that means and how we do that. The instructions say complete each table of ordered pairs. So in your homework, you would need to make your own table. Then graph the equation on a coordinate plane. So then you would need to make your own graph and graph it. So you will need to do some of this on graph paper, obviously. Okay, y equals 2x. That's our equation. So the first thing we're going to do is start choosing some x's to fill in for x and see what y would be based on our given x. Whenever we're doing this, we always want to start with easy numbers like 0, 1, or 2. In this case, they started with x being 1. Remember, we get to choose what x is, and then that decides what y is. So if x is 1, I would have a table and I would put in 1. And then I would put what my equation is. It's 2. Well, okay, so it's not the whole equation, but it's the part that I'm solving on this side. So I'm putting 2x right there. And whatever 2x is, it equals y. So then I'm going to have a column for y. And then my last column is going to be for what my x, y coordinates are based on the x I chose and the y that it produced. So if x is 1, I'm going to plug 1 in, and 2 times 1 is 2. Or as you can see, 2 times 1 is 2. Because remember, y is equal to whatever that equals. So this ordered pair, the x would be 1, the y would be 2, and that's our ordered pair. And then we could come and graph it. Over 1, up 2. Now we have our first point plotted. So now let's try it with y equals 2. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. It's the 9 o'clock thing. Okay, x equals 2. So we're going to say 2 times 2. Here it is in our table, 2 times 2. That's 4. So y equals 2 times 2, or 4. So there's where we put our 4, and that tells us our ordered pair. Our x is 2, our y is 4. We wrote our ordered pair in the table. Now we're going to go graph it. Over 2, up 4, and we have 2 points. Now the interesting thing is that in order to draw a line, we actually only need 2 points. So with those 2 points plotted, we could have then taken a straight edge or a ruler and used it to line up the 2 points, and we could have drawn a line all the way through our graph. And remember that then any point on that line would have satisfied this x and y in that equation. Let's look at it and see. What if we didn't choose the next x, but we chose a point on the graph? And I'm going to choose this red point because they've already done it. That red point tells me that the x is 3 and the y is 6. Let's look and see if that does satisfy our equation. If x is 3, 2 times 3 is 6, so yes, y is in fact 6. So you see that that point was a solution for that equation, and this one would be as well, and so would every tiny little point in between on this line. All right, let's jump down and do another one that's similar. Same thing, but a different equation. This time, y equals 3x minus 2. We're going to set up our table the same. We're going to have a column for x's, a column for the part that we need to solve right here, a column for the y's that are a result of what we solved right here, and then a column for our ordered pairs. So they chose to start with 0. Like I said, that's always an easy place to start. Well, what if we do plug 0 in for 3x minus 2 for the x in it? So we're going to have 3 times 0 equals 0 minus 2. It's written for you right there. That 0 minus 2 equals negative 2. So in this case, y would equal negative 2. If x is 0, y is negative 2, we write our ordered pair and we graph it. We don't leave the 0 on the x-axis, but we come down negative 2 on the y-axis, and that's our first point. Now let's try it with 1. Remember, choose easy numbers. Plug 1 in for x. 3 times 1 is 1 minus 2. I'm sorry, I did not mean to say that. That's mistake number 3. 3 times 1 is 3, minus 2 is 1. So if we choose for our x to be a 1, then our y also equals a 1. And our ordered pair is 1 and 1, and we graph it. Then we have 2 points. We can draw a line, and we could have kept going, plugging in more numbers. But remember, it only takes 2 points to have a line, and that line is the solution to your equation. All right, I know I went through that quickly. I hope that it was helpful. Remember that you can go back and watch it again. You can choose to pause and review. You can just rewind certain sections. And most importantly, you can use all these examples in your book to study. All right, that's it.